Hello my motor enthusiasts. Sergio Perez's journey with Red Bull has reached its end. Despite securing 5 wins, 3 poles, and 932 points over his career, his performance faltered in the 2024 season. Contributing merely 35% of Max Verstappen's points tally, Perez's shortcomings ultimately cost Red Bull the constructors' crown. The team tried everything from encouragement to public criticism, but the goodwill he'd garnered from defending against Lewis Hamilton back in 2021 has dwindled away. Red Bull insiders knew by the Mexican Grand Prix that Perez had run out of chances, with his performances in Australia, China, and Qatar highlighting missed opportunities. That's the reality of F1's cutthroat dynamics. Hey folks! It's your host Enzo here, ready to dive into another thrilling episode of F1 Motor Fever podcast. Joining me is the ever-insightful William. We're here every day, so make sure to subscribe, turn on those notifications, and share with your friends and family. Your support keeps us zooming ahead. You won't believe what we're about to reveal about Perez and Red Bull. It's relevant because it highlights the intense pressure and drama in F1 and how even seasoned drivers can face the chop. Isn't that right, William?
Absolutely, Enzo. The stakes in Formula One are higher than a hawk in flight, and Perez's story is a reminder of just how razor-edged this sport can be. Can't wait to delve deeper.
Brilliant. So, gear up and let's hit full throttle. So, carrying on with our chat, it's clear that Red Bull's decision to part ways with Perez wasn't taken lightly. They really tried both the carrot and the stick approach, a bit of encouragement from Christian Horner and some public criticism from Helmut Marko. It's a real shocker, isn't it? By the time we reached Mexico, any affection Perez gained from his past heroics had vanished. He was hanging by a thread after the summer review, and now both he and Daniel Ricciardo have been shown the door. It's a shame when you think of all the potential he had, especially in Australia where he could have seized the moment when Verstappen had to pull out.
Indeed, it just goes to show how crucial it is to capitalize on every opportunity in this sport. Perez had the car with RB20 that should have been in the mix for the win. But those small mishaps like impeding Nico Hülkenberg and the visor tear-off issue really took a toll.
Exactly, and you have to wonder if things might have been different had he clinched that victory. But that's the relentless nature of Formula One, there's no room for missed chances. It's a bit of a shock, really. Alright, let's delve into this some more. After Melbourne, you might think the rest of the season would have been smoother for Perez, but it was quite the opposite. China was another missed opportunity where he ended up losing out to Norris. Again, Red Bull were hoping for a 1-2 finish, but it wasn't to be. Perez couldn't quite hold his own against the Aston Martin at the start, and then later on, Norris managed to slip past him. It's not what you'd expect from someone in an RB20, especially given McLaren was still waiting on those Miami updates.
True, and it's quite telling how the season unfolded from there. The incident in Monaco really stands out, especially given his previous success there. Those crashes started to pile up and must have weighed on him mentally, as well as financially for the team.
Absolutely, it was a series of unfortunate events. After his crash in Monaco, which wasn't completely his fault but nonetheless costly, you'd hope the new contract would have lifted his spirits. I mean, a 2-year extension announced in early June should have been a real boost. But, as we saw, it just didn't translate into the results Red Bull needed from him.
That's the tricky thing in F1. Even with the best support and a fresh contract, the pressure never really lets up. For Perez, it seems that the highs of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia were overshadowed by the lows that followed.
The intent with that contract extension was to give Perez some breathing room, a bit of security so he could focus on his driving. But, unfortunately, things just didn't work out as planned. Even with Horner expressing confidence in his abilities before Canada, the struggles persisted. He had another dismal showing in Canada, failing to escape Q1 and then crashing out solo in the race. It was tough to watch, especially as he tried to avoid affecting Verstappen's race but ended up with a grid penalty for Spain.
It's quite the sequence of events. Could you give some examples to illustrate just how things unfolded for him?
Absolutely. Take Silverstone, for instance. It was a real debacle. He spun off on his outlap in Q1 and ended up beached in the gravel. Starting from the pit lane at Red Bull's other home race was certainly not what they had in mind. And then by the time the British GP came around, he faced further difficulties with the tyre choice, leaving him 2 laps down in 17th. And then there was Hungary, which was supposed to be a turning point with the RB20's major upgrade, albeit only on Verstappen's car. Perez crashed in Q1 again, qualifying 16th, and could only manage 7th in the race. The pressure was mounting, particularly with that clause in his contract looming over him if he fell 100 points behind Verstappen. Imagine, at the summer break, he was already 141 points adrift.
Those kinds of examples really show how challenging the season was for Perez. It's a stark reminder of how quickly things can spiral in F1.
Behind the scenes, while Perez was struggling on track, Red Bull found themselves in a bit of a conundrum. There was a lot of chatter about who might take the second seat. They were weighing up Ricciardo's return to the main team and considering Liam Lawson. But, in the end, the decision was to keep things as they were for a while longer. Ricciardo got a brief reprieve of 4 more races, and Perez was given a bit more time to find his form again.
And Spa was supposed to be a big opportunity for Perez, wasn't it?
Indeed, starting from second on the grid should have been a strong position for Red Bull, especially with Verstappen having to drop back. But it didn't pan out. Perez was out of contention by the first corner, with Hamilton and others surging past. He slid back to 7th while Verstappen, despite starting 9 places behind, finished ahead. Then there was Baku, where hope briefly flickered for Perez. The setup seemed to suit him, and he was leading the charge for Red Bull as Verstappen's gamble failed. Perez was nearly in contention for a win, but a late crash with Sainz dashed those hopes. It's an intricate balance, and even small missteps have significant consequences. Wow. I can't help but think how amazing the world of Formula One is. Such emotions, such competitiveness, such adrenaline. It's quite something, isn't it? What do you reckon, my lovely audience? Are you enjoying the content? Don't forget to hit the like button, alright? I'm absolutely loving these updates, and I hope you are too. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. Let's carry on. Perez had a chance to seize the moment in Baku, potentially overtaking Leclerc to snatch a win. But trapped behind, and with an unfortunate incident with Sainz, the opportunity slipped away. Fast forward to Mexico, it was supposed to be a highlight, his home ground, yet it turned into a nightmare. A Q1 exit from qualifying and a frustrating race, which saw him penalized and finishing last after a clash with Lawson. The pressure kept mounting, and his performances were faltering at crucial times.
Didn't quite catch that. What did you mean? Could you elaborate?
Right, so in Mexico, despite the home advantage and a track he knows well, Perez was struggling. It all started with issues in qualifying where he couldn't get the car to perform as expected, resulting in an early exit. Then, during the race, he was penalized for being out of position on the grid, which only added to his woes. The encounter with Lawson was the final straw, leaving him with car damage and a very disappointing finish. And then there was Qatar. By that point, the frustration was palpable. Red Bull had tried various solutions to help with Perez's braking issues, but nothing seemed to stick. During the weekend, he failed to react at the pit lane start, causing further embarrassment. It was clear things weren't aligning, and the efforts to solve the handling issues just weren't paying off. As we draw towards the end of Perez's eventful journey with Red Bull, Qatar paints a vivid picture of the challenges faced. Despite showing potential amidst the chaos of a safety car period, a solo spin followed by clutch issues unraveled any advantage he might have gained. Then, in Abu Dhabi, his final act with Red Bull was marred by an early exit after a collision with Bottas, marking an underwhelming conclusion to his time with the team.
It's fascinating how quickly fortunes can change in Formula One. One moment, you're on the brink of capitalizing on others' misfortunes, and the next, you're spinning off and struggling with mechanical issues.
Absolutely. And Perez's stint with what is arguably the best team of this era in F1 wasn't short of drama, was it? From being a potential race winner in Baku to his struggles in Mexico and Qatar, it was a rollercoaster of highs and lows. It's a reminder of how relentless and unforgiving the sport can be, where every small mistake can lead to massive consequences.
It certainly keeps the adrenaline pumping and the fans on the edge of their seats.
Have a butchers at the internet chatter, would you?
Alright, so on the forum, it appears there's a post by someone called Ferrari strategist, quote, Sergio Perez's statement, unquote. It sparked quite a discussion. One noteworthy comment from a user named Overspeed mentioned, quote, Checo has since deleted the original post and reposted it a few minutes later. It's not clear what was changed, unquote. Quite intriguing, isn't it?
Certainly, it's always a mystery when things go poof online. Carry on.
Another user, Santana3, had a light-hearted comment, quote, it's real, unquote. And then Cappuccino Nation added a humorous twist, quote, is this what Frodo and Sam felt after yeeting the ring into Mount Doom, unquote.
Ha ha ha, drawing parallels with Lord of the Rings, are they? Quite the journey for Perez then.
Indeed. Then Free Fight chimed in with just a gif, so not much to say there. Meanwhile, Incremental Progress said, quote, I hate to be that guy, but they didn't even get the satisfaction, unquote. To which Varial Flop responded with some confusion about the movie, and Senor Duck 96 suggested, quote, honestly, the Checo movie finishes at AD 21, if not Monaco 2022 to really top off Act 3, unquote.
Sounds like a script gives Hollywood a run for its money. What else is floating about?
Well, there's some reminiscing, as Varial Flop mentions Ricciardo's win in Monza 2021, calling it one of their top moments of the decade. Quote, "It felt electric that Monday morning at work," unquote. And someone named Benito Camillo Organizer humorously compared it to their own wedding. Quote, "I got married in the 2020s, but yeah, Danny Rick's win is definitely up there too," unquote.
Priorities, A. Anything about Perez's future from the grapevine?
Cyver168 is curious, wondering how long it'll be before any replacements are announced, and Lost Terminator speculates it might be soon, perhaps today or tomorrow. Liedler adds a bit of a jest, quote, "If it takes anywhere as long as this announcement, Red Bull won't have a second driver next year," unquote.
Can't say the fans aren't having a bit of fun with the situation. It's all part of the sports theatre, isn't it? Thanks ever so much for tuning into F1 Motor Fever podcast today. We've journeyed through the highs and lows of Perez's stint with Red Bull, and it's been a pleasure having you along for the ride. Don't forget to subscribe and tap that notification bell so you're always in the loop. Your support truly makes a difference. Share our content with your mates, whether they're on WhatsApp, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or even just around the dinner table. If you enjoyed it, leave us a comment.
Make sure to catch our next episode, and keep your ears peeled. We're broadcasting every day. And who knows, maybe we'll uncover another thrilling tale or two in the world of Formula One.
Pedal to the metal, keep your gaze on the road, our channel's content is pure gold.